Right, before we begin the video, I've got to show you something about this car that no other review has covered. This car has the most adjustable seat fitted to any car ever. Watch this. This is the highest driving position. And this is the lowest driving position. I'm 6'5". Who is this for? Is it trendy in Sweden to drive while wearing a top hat? Who was the test driver for this car? Andre the Giant? May he rest in peace. Well, hello Electroheads. This big old Swedish boy is the Polestar 2, and I'm not going to mess you around. It's one of the best electric cars in the world right now. In this video today, I'm going to do the things I usually do. I'm going to tell you what I like about this car, what I don't like so much, and hopefully I'm going to point out a few quirky little details about it that no other reviews have picked up on. But I've also set myself a little personal challenge for this video. I'm going to try and do this whole review without mentioning that other electric car. You know the one I mean? Starts with a T, ends with a 3. Kind of looks like someone put a Mazda in a microwave. Made by a guy who named his first child after his favourite algebra equation. Yeah, that one. And the reason I'm going to try and go this whole video without talking about that car is because it just seems like every Polestar video on YouTube makes that direct comparison. And I think it's a bit rude on Polestar. Because yes, they cost about the same and they've got roughly the same size batteries, but they are two very different cars, and I don't see much point in bickering over which one is better. Both are brilliant, and which you prefer will largely depend on what you look for in a car. So, from this point on in the video, you are not going to hear me mention Tesla. Damn it! Okay, from this point on in the video, you are not going to hear me mention... Before we go any further, please do make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and if you're looking for some sweet Electroheads bonus content, check out the link to our Patreon down below. Right, let's begin as we always do on the outside of the car, and well, would you just look at this thing. I've had this car for almost a week now, and let me tell you, it is a head turner, and I know looks are subjective, but surely we can all agree that it looks much, much better than a... Never mind. Now, as you're probably aware, Polestar is Volvo's electric sub-brand, and as such, this car borrows heavily from the Volvo Design Q playbook. And that's a good thing, because Volvos are cool now. Seriously, when did that happen? I remember when people used to buy Volvos in spite of the way they looked, and now, we've got this. I mean, for starters, this grille, very Volvo and very cool. It's kind of toothy, isn't it? The headlights with the signature Thor's hammer design, very Volvo, very cool. Coming around here, these wheels, look at these wheels. Look at those gold brake calipers. This is a Volvo. It's got gold brake calipers. What a time to be alive. Coming around the back, this crease. See this crease here? This is the equivalent of those muscles, you know, those ones? And it comes all the way around to the back, and then, look, I know every single new electric car has a light bar, but look at this one. Funny thing about the Polestar, it's quite hard to decide what kind of car it is. It doesn't really conform to any conventional car shape, does it? If you were to go up to a Volvo designer and ask them, is it an SUV or a saloon or a crossover or a fastback, I imagine they'd say, yes. It's a really, really striking car, but what I like about it is it isn't kind of showy, it's not arrogant. This car doesn't have a single piece of chrome trim on the exterior, it's not painted in a silly colour. It catches your eye because it's just a really, really smart piece of design. Yes, it gets a lot of stares, but it's not like when you drive a supercar and you can actually feel the hatred radiating at you. In this, I like to think it's looks of quiet admiration. They're not thinking, twats, they're thinking, wow, that guy looks young for a successful architect. And now you're thinking, aren't you? Okay, welcome to my favourite thing about the Polestar 2. This cabin, there is something very special about this. It's clean and minimalistic, but not in a way that makes it feel like a spaceship like it does in the... Never mind. It's not ultra modern in here, instead it's cosy and exquisite. The materials are just beautiful. Everything you touch feels lovely, and it's 100% vegan in here as well. The sound system is unbelievable. It's just proper high life in here. Much like the Honda E, this is a cabin that feels like it could come from a car that's twice as expensive, and this car is quite expensive to begin with. Polestar's CEO has explicitly stated that build quality is going to be one of the big selling points of these cars, and for where I'm sitting, I can totally see that. I've got a big soft spot for things that just feel exquisitely built. I think that's why I love this car so much, and it's also why I've never fully gelled with never mind. And then there is this infotainment system. Have a look at this. Does it look familiar to you? Oh yes, my friends, this car is running Android software, the same Google-powered user interface that you find on all non-Apple smartphones, and it's just the best in the business. This is genius. Clearly, those boffins at Polestar have put their sensible Swedish heads together and said to themselves, why bother trying to come up with a really intuitive operating system when someone else has already perfected it? I promise you, a lot of other car brands are going to be stealing this idea and running Android software in the very near future. Before we get out on the road, here are a few more quickfire observations about the Polestar. Despite having a huge bonnet, there is almost no frunk at all on this car. I mean, there is, but it's tiny. Look, there's just room for cables and nothing else. What else is going on under there? That being said, I'm not too upset about the lack of frunk because it's got the biggest boot I've seen on an electric car, I think, and underneath the boot, it's another boot. The Polestar 2 has quite high door frames and small windows. That's what gives it its muscular look, but it would usually make the car quite dark and dingy. Polestar fixed that by fitting this huge panoramic sunroof, and it actually projects the Polestar logo onto the sunroof. I'm basically Batman. This car has an unbelievably good reversing camera. It's so good, I'm pretty sure I've totally forgotten how to park a car myself. But hey, I lost my sense of direction years ago thanks to Google Maps. It's called progress. The B-pillar in this car is weirdly far forward, which is not very good for visibility when turning out of junctions, but it also means that if you're weirdly tall, you've got nowhere to rest your weary elbow. Check out these frameless wing mirrors. You don't think they're a big deal, but then you get into another car that has normal framed wing mirrors and realize you feel like a filthy peasant. Okay, we're out on the road in the Polestar 2, and let's begin with this. It's fast. Oh, yeah. That is 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, which is fast in a normal car, but in a 2.1 ton SUV crossover thing, it's alarming. And I'll tell you what else, this thing handles. Certainly better than you'd expect from a big slab-sided whatever this is. Fun fact, before Polestar was Volvo's electric sub-brand, it was actually its performance division. And I think there might be some engineers still working at Polestar left over from the racing days. Because if you spec this car with the performance pack, you get these very fetching gold seat belts, but you also get adjustable Öhlins dampers, which is like proper race car stuff. Essentially what that means is, if you want to, you can get under this car with a set of tools and manually adjust the stiffness of your suspension. No one is going to do that. It's such a random addition. I think it's only there so that dads can tell other dads about it while waiting to collect their kids from school. The point is, it's got really fancy suspension and it controls its weight really well for a big heavy car, and it is a hefty boy, 2.1 tons. It's also got full-time four-wheel drive. The power is split 50-50 between the front and rear, so there is grip aplenty. Right, enough of that silliness. Let's talk about the things that will actually matter to the people who buy this car. This thing is a doddle to drive. Polestar have made some very bold decisions to make the experience of operating this car as simple as possible. For example, no key, no starter button. You just get in, the car senses your arse, and it knows that you're ready to go, much like in a... Even as far as driving modes and customizability, there really isn't much to choose from. Look, all you get to choose is how heavy your steering is, how strong your regen is, and whether you want traction control on or off. That is it. If you want a sportier drivetrain, press harder with your right foot. If you want your suspension a bit softer, get your spanners out and get under the car. That last one may have been a bit of an oversight. It would have been nice to have a comfy suspension button, but not the end of the world. Overall thoughts on this car? Well, I've sort of showed my hand at the start of the video, didn't I? I love this thing. I think it's one of the best electric cars ever made. It's just the perfect blend of familiar yet futuristic. I love driving it. I love sitting in it. I love looking at it. I don't want to go back to framed door mirrors. And by the way, this silly gag I've been doing all video of, don't mention the you-know-what, is a silly gag, but there is something real behind it, because I am sick and tired of every new electric car getting compared to that one. and being deemed a failure if it's less good in any way. This is absolutely something that I've been guilty of in the past, but no more. Because you know what? There is room for more than one great electric car, and just because this one's good, it doesn't mean your one is any less special. We always talk as if it's every other electric car versus Elon and his insanely loyal fans, but it's not. We're on the same team. Polestar didn't make this car to try and steal sales from Elon. They made it to try and tempt people who currently drive petrol cars into electric, because there's way more of them. And it will, because it's a brilliant car, and because it's a different kind of brilliant car to the it's going to attract a different kind of buyer. If you want space age futurism, get one of those. If you want refinement and understated style, get one of these. But the more different quality options there are available, the faster this electric revolution is going to happen. So there you have it, the Polestar 2, a car so good it made me go all thinky and hippie for a minute. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.